Hey guys, I'm sure you're familiar. This guy, he was an active serviceman in the Air Force. His name was Aaron Bushnell, and he stood in front of the Israeli embassy in Washington, D.C., and he doused himself with petroleum and he set himself on fire while screaming, "Free Palestine." And I'm not going to post a video. I don't, I can't do it on YouTube anyway, but I want to do it anyway. And he stood up quite a while until the fire finally brought him down. When I saw that, I didn't know about his political background or anything, but the first thing that came to mind was Patton's quote. And Patton, he was a famous general in World War II. He had a reputation of being tough. And he said, "No bastard ever won a war by dying for his country. He won it by making the other poor bastard die for his country." I like that quote. So if you have a cause, you want your enemy to die. You don't want to die. So this whole thing seemed stupid to me. I didn't know this guy's background, Aaron's background, his political positions. Obviously, he was against the genocide that's happening now based on our tax dollars in the Gaza Strip, or ethnic cleansing, whatever you want to talk about it. It's clear it's gone beyond just attacking Hamas. They're just leveling city blocks. Is tens of thousands of civilians. It's an atrocity. And I don't support that either. I don't want my tax money going to fight some Middle Eastern slaughter. We have our own problems in America, like our border. I don't really care about Israel. I don't really care about Gaza, the Palestinians, one way or the other. They're not my people. I just don't want my tax dollars going to that. And I don't want them coming over here. This is our homeland. So I know I don't want Palestinian refugees. I'm not going to wave a Palestinian flag, but I don't want my money going to what's happening in Israel. So I was sort of sympathetic. And I think a lot of people kind of on our side were sympathetic, but people tracked him down on his Facebook post. And he said, "Many of us like to ask ourselves, what would I do if I was alive during slavery or the Jim Crow South or apartheid? What would I do if my country was committing genocide? The answer is you're doing it right now." And then he actually liked a couple of groups, some anarchy groups from Ohio or something like that. So my point is, this isn't a guy that was on the right. He was basically, I think, a self-hating white that uh, needed to stand up for someone. And he sees, the brown people. I'm going to be the hero white standing up for these people by doing this noble act. And I'll get to that in a minute. But number one, this didn't accomplish anything. It will be forgotten in a couple of weeks. And the Israeli embassy and the government of Israel and the Christian Zionist and the Jewish Zionist, they're not going to shed any tears about this. They probably think this is funny. They're not going to change their policy because this guy set himself on fire. And that's the point. He brought up slavery, but it would be like John Brown. He was an abolitionist. He's a piece of shit, and I didn't like him. But he was an abolitionist against slavery, and he formed a guerrilla group. And he fought in Kansas, murdered a whole bunch of people, and then he raided Harper's Ferry. Of course, the first thing his little band of guerrillas did, the first person they killed was a black. But they were trying to start a slave uprising. But my point is, they actually planned in a weird way, in an incompetent way, to hit what they thought was their enemy. Uh, Brown didn't set himself on fire. John Brown didn't set himself on fire. That doesn't do any good. And that's the point I have to younger people or people in general. We need you. And yeah, it's good to be passionate about something. And no, I'm not just saying sit on your ass or do nothing about it. But instead of like setting yourself on fire or doing something equally as stupid, we've seen people do, I don't know, stupid things like mass shootings or whatever. What did you have the courage just to live and to live with your beliefs? That's actually the hard thing, is to go through life instead of having this like temper tantrum. That's what it was. Actually work on whatever you believe and take risks. Like this guy, if he really believed this strongly, He could have disobeyed orders and not followed the orders and been thrown into prison. But he could have been like a martyr that way. Then maybe after he got out of prison, he could go to the Gaza and try to hook up with Hamas or whatever. I'm not advocating that, but he could have done that. That would have been something more real and more productive than just setting himself on fire. But the bigger issue, and this guy, he thought he was going to get the praise of everyone, and they still don't like him because he's still the evil white man. And some people, they did rest in power, Aaron Bushnell. And here's this guy on X saying, "Can we not use this phrase on white man, please? I get the sentiment, but rest in power is historically used to mourn black people who were killed by hate crimes and police." You know, that myth. So this guy did all this to try to appeal to these people, and they still hate him. They still see him as the evil white man, even though he was, it looks like, in Facebook with all the shit lib causes. Because you have to understand, the Democratic base, they're not really for what Israel's doing. I know a lot of us on the right aren't either, except for the neocons. But except for Biden and his regime, because of their ethnic loyalties, the rest of the base, they're not really happy. They see this as a bunch of white people. They see the Jewish people killing brown people in Palestine, and they get real upset about it. And I think this was the case with Aaron Bushnell. And we got to break this mindset. We got to take our own interest instead of worrying about Jewish people or Palestinians. We need to worry about our own people. That's what we got to do. So I don't want to have a proxy where, oh, I'm worried about the Jewish people in Europe because of immigration, or oh, I'm worried about LGBTQ rights. Oh, I'm worried about the Palestinians. Now, how about we worry about our people? Let's do that, because I guarantee other groups don't give a shit about us. I couldn't imagine any other group setting themselves on fire because let's say white people are being discriminated against. I just can't imagine that. It breaks my mind trying to think that it wouldn't happen. It's ridiculous. Only white people do this stupid shit. Don't do it. This guy's not a hero. It's dumb. Again, it looks like he was on the left, and he probably was against white supremacy, white privilege, the whole bit. And he was trying to align with, oh, we got to fight against the evil oppressors in Israel. I get it, but he wasn't able to take his own side. He had to find this proxy. Don't find a proxy. Have the courage not to die for your people. Don't die for your people. Live for your people and do things to make the world better. So I cannot condone what this guy did. I think this was just a fit, and it didn't solve anything. And it's a shame that it happened, but this is a sign of the sickness we have now, of that we can't even have our people focus on our people and not try to do stupid actions, but actually live and do the hard things day after day to advocate for our people and our homeland. Talk to you guys later.